Most gracious and everlasting Father, we thank you for this opportunity. Come and be in our midst. Continue with us and end with us in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you very much, Honorable. So I am Amegashie-Viglo from Youth Impact Parliament. And thank you for the confidence reposed in me to be your interim speaker. Today's orientation session is basically to educate us on what National Youth Authority is, how this entire Ho Municipal Youth Parliament is about, and what it aims to do, and what the revitalisation is about. And then from there, we'll talk about inaugural arrangements and possibilities. And then from there, we'll call Mr. Adam Osman to take us through parliamentary procedures. And after each session, we'll take questions and answers pertaining to the particular one. So I welcome you all to today's session. Today's session has been organized by the interim leadership, as I've already stated. And on the 14th of July, you all nominated the following as interim leaders: Joshua Eduji Fiamacho as Marshal, Daniel Pong as Clerk, Redeemer Awuku Ajandu as Minority Chief Whip, Samson Duche as Minority Leader, Gabriel Tulasi as Majority Chief Whip, Emmanuel Fumado as Majority Leader, Thomas Kujo Gadasu as Second Deputy Speaker, Favor Anyale Okori as First Deputy Speaker, and Jones Amegashie-Viglo as Speaker. So all we are doing is, as a result of the leadership you have appointed, and the leadership has decided to organize this orientation. So I'll move straight to tell you about National Youth Authority. National Youth Authority, as you all know, is a statutory body that has been born by an Act of Parliament. The National Youth Authority is led by a Chief Executive Officer, and the current Chief Executive Officer is Mr. Osman Ayariga, Esquire. He has two deputies, one Deputy CEO in charge of Finance and Administration, and the other Deputy CEO in charge of Operations. And the National Youth Authority is located, the headquarters is located in Accra, as you already know. And the National Youth Authority has been decentralized in Ghana. So all the regions have regional directors. And then every single district has district directors. That is for you to know. So it is not only in Ho Municipal. The Water Regional Director for the National Youth Authority is Mr. Yaosemodi. And then the District Director is Mr. Charles Kwesi Gumenu. Now, the National Youth Authority is the principal agency of the government of Ghana responsible for youth development. And to add, the authority is a government agency under the Ministry of Youth Development and Empowerment. That ministry is led by Honorable George Opariado Esquire. The authority is mandated to formulate, coordinate, monitor, and implement policies and programs that empower young people across the country. Its core functions include promoting youth participation in governance and national development, supporting youth leadership and civic engagement, providing skills training, entrepreneurship and employment opportunities, coordinating youth organizations and youth-focused programs, implementing the national youth policy and collaborating with MMDCs, metropolitan, municipal, and district assemblies and other stakeholders on youth initiatives. That is one detail about the National Youth Authority we should know. And also for your attention, the National Youth Authority was established by the National Youth Authority Act 2016, Act 939. The Act establishes the authority as a body corporate and sets out its objectives, functions, governance structures, and powers. It was passed by the Parliament of the Republic of Ghana in 2016 December and received presidential assent on the 30th of December 2016. Before the Act 939, the youth body originated as the National Youth Council, established by the NRCD 241 of the 1974. And I'm sure that was a military decree that established it. So over the years, it has undergone several institutional changes before Parliament finally reorganized it as the National Youth Authority. So that is for your information. I hope this is very informative for you. Yes. So the National Youth Authority is a government agency. So the Youth Parliament Initiative, the National Youth Authority has a board of directors chaired by a chairman, and they actually passed the National Youth Authority, they passed the national, that should be the Youth Parliament policy and its standing orders some time ago. And that program or initiative establishes a youth parliament in all districts, all the 261 districts in Ghana. Per that policy passed by the board is to have a district parliament that is under the supervision of the district director of the National Youth Authority. Every region is also supposed to have so before I go to the regions, the district parliaments are composed of registered youth organizations within the district. And if there are tertiary institutions within the district as well, they can be added with some traditional authorities, and then also some other stakeholders that they see them relevant to be part of the district parliament. At the region, the youth parliament under each region is supposed to be made up of mostly certain leaders within the district parliaments, certain leaders that are elected or appointed at the district parliaments. They are supposed to present representatives from the district leadership to the region to form the regional parliament. And I think the last time the regional parliament was formed, I think that was about 4 or 5 years ago, which was led by, I'm talking about the Volta regional one. By then, Honorable Pius Hajide was the CEO, and then Honorable Dr. Archibald Lecha was the Volta regional minister. So Faisal Abdul Idrisu, who was then the Ho Municipal Youth Parliament speaker, was elected to be the speaker of the Volta Regional Youth Parliament. And they held their sitting, and since then they have not sat. So before then, there was the Ho Municipal Youth Parliament, but it became dormant after then. And per the policy as well, the headquarters is to form the National Youth Parliament under National Youth Authority, of which per the standing orders is to sit during the recess of Parliament of the Republic of Ghana in the chambers of Parliament of Ghana. And it's supposed to be composed of representatives from the district parliaments, at least one representative, who in turn is to represent the correlating constituency. The reason why I'm saying this is that some districts have more constituencies within them. When you go to some districts, the constituencies have different names. I know a couple of people get confused about that. For instance, I know most of you here do not know that what we call Ho Central is the constituency. What we call Ho Municipal is the district. And I'm sure you are even getting confused. What do I mean by districts, constituencies, and all those? I'll clarify it for you. Districts are local government territories created by the central government in order to have established local authorities to manage and develop the district without micromanagement from the central government. So in Ghana currently, we have 261 districts, and each of them are to be led by a representative of the president nominated to the district assembly, who needs to be approved by 2/3 majority votes by the district assembly. After I clarify the difference between districts and constituencies, I'll clarify the difference between the MC and then the MP and then the district constituency. Constituencies are they are demarcations within districts that are allotted by the Electoral Commission, of which they elect members of parliament to represent that constituency in Parliament of Ghana. So basically, a constituency is a legislative demarcation for the purposes of representation in Parliament, whilst districts, metropolitans, and municipals are executive demarcations for the purposes of establishing a local government for the development of the people within the districts or residents within the districts. So that is the difference for you to note. They are different things. So Ho Municipal Assembly is under the executive led by the MC, who is nominated by the president, subject to 2/3 approval of the assembly. Whilst the constituency is led by a member of parliament elected at general elections to represent the district within or in parliament. In parliament. So that is the difference for you to note. Now let me go straight to the issue about MP and MC's confusing members. These are relevant orientations for you, the youth MPs in the Ho Municipal Youth Parliament to know. So you now know who an MP is and who he represents, and who an MC is and who he represents. So the MC is a representative of the president. Whilst the MP is a representative of the people in parliament. Representative of the people in parliament. The MPs, so currently our MP represents Ho Central constituency, and the MC in Ho is leading the Ho Municipal Assembly. Now, the Ho Municipal Assembly is a local government entity. The structures within a local government is the municipal chief executive or the district chief executive, who is the topmost head. Then we have the assembly. The assembly is made up of what? Elected assembly members from demarcated electoral areas within a district. Elected assembly members from demarcated electoral areas within a district. And appointed members by the president. On a normal ratio, when the total number of members of an assembly is 40, the president takes 1/3 and 2/3 is made elected from electoral areas. So they come together to form the municipal assembly and they elect one of their own, mostly an elected assembly member, to be the presiding member. To have you know, the municipal assembly is the legislative organ of the entire municipal. The MC leads the executive part of the local government, and the presiding member leads the legislative arm of the local government. I hope we get it. So they are to sit once in a quarter to consider business of the assembly, of which must be approved. They actually approve budgets by the MCs. Now, apart from that, there's a structure I have not spoken about. There's a structure I have not told you about. There are actually workers within or civil society, not civil society. There are like employed workers within the local government. Okay, and they form the trade union we call CLOSAC. But the topmost local government official is called the Municipal Coordinating Director or District Coordinating Director. The District Coordinating Director is similar to the Chief Director of a ministry or a coordinating council. You know, every ministry has a Chief Director. They are the highest serving civil servants within there. They are different from political appointees. So every district is to have a district coordinating director who is responsible for the administrative running of the districts. But the MC is the political head of the district who, in most cases, his tenure ends anytime the president's tenure ends. But the district coordinating director retires at 60, and so as other directors within the district. So that is what happens over there. And I hope with this, members will not be confused. What are some of the functions of the municipal assembly? You know, mostly the local government takes care of the market, property rates, and then all those. Have you heard of something we call the internally generated fund, which is IGF? The municipal assembly runs its finances based on the IGF they make. And just recently, you know that the current government in power has been releasing grants to the districts, which they call the District Assembly Common Fund, which is managed by an administrator in Accra. So in addition to the money they make from the IGF, which is all the charges that they take as a district, the grants from government complements their budget. And usually those grants come with designated projects to be done. For instance, the 24-hour economy you are seeing, and then other road projects that the central government wants done in order to ensure that every district develops at a particular certain rate. However, from the money they make from the IGF, the local government led by the MC could decide what the additional funds could be used for. But they must be subject to the approval of the district assembly led by the presiding member. So that is it for you to know about the local government and stuff. So now let's come back to the National Youth Authority. So the National Youth Authority, they are to have a national parliament, a national youth parliament, a representative from each district to represent a constituency within the district, and then from among themselves they elect their leaders. Now let's come to the structure of the Ho Municipal or the Youth Parliament and the National Youth Authority. So obviously making reference to what happens in Parliament of Ghana. It is basically to mimic that structure. However, it is to encourage bringing together youth groups within or youth groups registered with them to empower the voices of the youth. That is why it is very important these youth parliaments and the NYA work with their corresponding local governments. Yeah, so at the end of the day, the interest is that we can magnify the voice of the youth. That is why it's very important we want to work with the district assembly. So now I can go straight to our structures. We have drafted a constitution for the Ho Municipal Youth Parliament, of which we'll share with you after the session. In the constitution, the roles that we are going to have leading the youth parliament are obviously the first person is the Speaker of Parliament and two deputies, majority, minority, of which first deputy speaker and second deputy speaker. But before I'll get to the rules, kindly allow me to enumerate to you the functions of the vision and the rest objectives and functions of the Municipal Youth Parliament as enshrined in this constitution. So the vision of the Ho Municipal Youth Parliament is to become the foremost platform for youth representation, leadership development, democratic participation, and policy advocacy within Ho Municipality. And the mission is to empower young people to actively participate in governance, influence development processes, advocate for youth-centered policies, and contribute meaningfully to sustainable development of Ho Municipality. I think when it comes to the functions, you can basically extract it from the vision and mission I've given you. I have already spoken about the composition. I will not talk about that. One important feature of membership is the person must reside within the district and be nominated by the accredited constituency. And the tenure over here is 2 years. The tenure is 2 years. So should we launch our own, after 2 years, we'd have to do another launch. And obviously, there will be majority, minority caucuses. However, the caucuses are shared based on discretion and not to any political alignment. Not to any political alignment. Now, we are to have a clerk and a deputy clerk, a marshal and a deputy marshal. We are to have speaker and deputies, two deputy speakers, first deputy speaker and second deputy speaker, majority leader, deputy majority leader, and then we are also to have a thing. I'll have to check the standing order. We also have a standing orders as well that will be sharing with you after this session. It encapsulates the procedures of Parliament, of which the next facilitator will be briefing you on. Yes, but it captures in detail some of these functions because the Constitution is just talking about the general principles and stuff, whilst the standing orders, which is supposed to guide proceedings, is going to enshrine the specific functionality of some of the leaders and then how debate is supposed to be done in all those. And luckily, if you have been part of a student parliament or youth parliament before, these procedures do not exactly differ from each other. They do not exactly differ from each other. So those of you who are new to parliamentary staffs, you have to take the session by the next facilitator very serious in order to understand the rudiments of parliamentary procedures. It's very important. So majority leader, deputy majority leader, majority whip, deputy majority whip. That is what the Constitution, the standing order says. So I think we have I don't know whether a person is called chief whip or whatever, but each of the roles are to have one deputy, except the speaker who has two deputies. Except the speaker who has two deputies. Now the choosing is the speaker is to be elected by all. First deputy speaker is also elected by all. Second elected by all. Now after you have gone into caucuses, the caucuses will elect among themselves the leader, deputy leader, whip, and deputy whips. Now those who do not get roles will be forming committees of the House. We have appointments and privileges, parliamentary business, education, research, innovation, youth employment and entrepreneurship, governance and constitutional affairs, health and social development, environmental and climate action, media, communications and public engagement, gender, disability and social inclusion, sports and entertainment. These are some mandatory committees, but we can create more. And each committee is to have a chairperson and a vice chairperson, no ranking members. A chairperson and a vice chairperson, no ranking members. And from among those chair and vice, but when the committee is formed, the committee will elect among itself who to be the chair, who to be the vice. There are certain, okay, I don't think we can do that here. What we have here, the committee, the leadership will just form the committees, and when you meet, you elect among yourself a chairperson and a vice. And all of these committees have an important role. Their roles are enshrined in the Constitution and the standing orders. Now, I want to bring my session to a close to allow for questions. I didn't talk about inauguration. Let me talk about inauguration before I open for questions and answers. So we have selected among ourselves Saturday 26, which is this Saturday to be the date of the inauguration. As I've already informed you, director is the one going around to raise funds. And to be frank with you, funds have been really slow. So by tomorrow, director will clearly know whether, by tomorrow, maybe Thursday, we'll know whether or not the inauguration will come on that day. But we as a group can decide if we want, we'll have to find ways to mobilize some additional funds. I think the director will be the best to talk about the state of funds, how much he has raised. But the indication he gave me is that it has not been forthcoming. But it doesn't mean if we don't hold it this Saturday, it's never happen. It's surely going to happen. In the likely case it doesn't happen this Saturday, it will surely happen next month in August. We'll choose another date again, and then it's going to happen. All we know is that this parliament must be inaugurated. I've already informed you that the National Youth Authority, since the time we introduced this policy, has not been forthcoming with funding. And because funding is not coming, all the parliaments have collapsed. There are a couple who are running, but they are running based on the commitments of the members themselves who wants to harness the opportunity of being part and be part of decision making. But apart from that, if members are not able to mobilize among themselves, it basically collapses. So that is a question for another day after the director is able to mobilize for our session. If he's not able to secure constant funding, we might have to look for other funding alternatives to keep this running. However, we intend to sit prior to General Assembly sittings of the municipal. So if the municipal is to sit on Tuesday, we can sit on Sunday, and we'll plead that the presiding member shares with us their agenda so that if they might not want to share, but there should be some that really need the input of the youth, should be given to us to debate and forward to them our opinion so that the interests of the youth will be considered in the decisions of the assembly. So, in the case that director is able to raise the funds, obviously we'll be working on appointment letters that will be signed by director, and the venue will be the assembly hall of the municipal. They have tables and chairs over there. We wouldn't need to hire. Youth Impact Parliament will be supporting with sounds. And then I've already secured ropes which are not from Youth Impact Parliament for our session. Those ropes will be available to rope particular officers. And obviously, we'll be recording the session. There will be photography as well. And then we'll also be refreshing members as well. And how will the session happen on Saturday or any other day in the case it doesn't happen on Saturday? The first is for us to come around earlier than the time posted, and then we'll be orienting ourselves and be doing maybe the elections that we'll have to do, election of the speaker and hurdles whatsoever, deputy speakers, clerks, deputy clerks, and then caucus leaders will do those elections because we can't do them during the inauguration. So when we come earlier than the stipulated time, we'll do all these elections, and then the inaugural ceremony will start with the MC, MP, the National Youth Authority representatives and all those giving their speeches and stuffs, and then a lawyer or maybe the presiding member will come and swear us in. And after they swear us in, then we start with our session. We are going to hold a session that day talking about matters within Ho Municipal that needs the attention of the Assembly in the face or within the presence of all these big men and people who are currently leading the Assembly, listening to us share our views on matters of Ho Municipal for their consideration. And after we are done, our minutes will be shared with them so that they take it. So that day is going to be a day for us residing in Ho to share our views on the state of Ho Municipal for the attention of the MCE, the MP, the presiding member, the district coordinating director and staff. So after we are done with that, then the session ends, we take pictures, and then we are good to go. On that note, the floor is open for questions on the first session. Yes, Victor.
Right, thank you. Thank you very much. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
All right, thank you very much. That was a really insightful presentation. I happen to be part of the Regional Youth Parliament that was inaugurated, led by Right Honorable Faisal. And we can attest to the fact that since the inauguration, there hasn't been any sitting, even resources that were allocated that day were not provided. So I don't know if this is also just one of those situations. I don't know if this is just one of those situations where we are just meeting a KPI to say that we have inaugurated the youth parliament. What is the way forward? Is there clear-cut plans? Is there allocation at the district level, at the regional level, or national level for these parliaments, so that we don't just come and do inauguration and, as usual, nothing happens? We've seen this over and over, so we need to be sure if this is not just one of those things. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much for that question. That is part of the revitalization issues, because as a matter of fact, National Youth Authority is not going to provide any resource. They have not been forthcoming, and we know they will not. So the wish of director is from the inauguration, have these people leading the assembly coming to see the potential of this group. He's going to lobby for consistent funding from the municipality, from the local government, so that they can put it into their budget to allocate a couple of their resources for the sustainability of this initiative. That is one of the plans of director. But apart from that, we have the responsibility to, because after the inauguration, the expenses thereafter wouldn't be that much again. So even within Awan ourselves, we could decide that I want to commit these tall sittings in order to ensure that we sit, because the truth is that the central government has not actually even given allocation to National Youth Authority. If allocation has come, they have not made provision for any youth parliament. So we are not even expecting any funding from National Youth Authority itself. But our hope is that when the Municipal Assembly sees what we are doing, they will be encouraged because we equally invite assembly members and the presiding member to come and witness what we are doing, and in their budget, they will make allocation for us. If their budget has already been passed, it's not a problem. We want to convince the municipal chief executive to commit to sustaining this initiative, because we don't equally want it to be like the former Ho Municipal Youth Parliament under NYA or the regional parliament, as you have made reference to. Thank you very much. Okay, please, any questions on the lecture session and the inauguration arrangements I've shared with you? Please, if you have a question, raise your hand. If you have a question, raise your hand. Oh, okay. I guess members are very clear. Then, may I call on the second facilitator to start sharing his screen to make his presentation? So, honourable members, as the second facilitator, Adam Osman, is preparing, it is for us to know that for this to work, it's all of us coming to do this. Because we want a voice. We want our voice to be heard. That is why we have come together to mobilize ourselves to do this. So thank you very much. On that note, I call on Right Honorable Adam Osman, who is the Speaker of Youth Impact Parliament, to make his presentation on Parliamentary Rudiments, Convention, Standards and Practices. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jones, and good evening to everyone on the call. Today, I'm privileged to be here among young people like myself to deliver on Parliamentary Rudiments, Convention, Standard and Practices. I am Adam Osman, as already stated. I'm the Speaker of the most vibrant youth parliament in Ghana, which is the Youth Impact Parliament. But today, I don't plan to present or take your time. I'm only here to remind some of us. For some of us, it's just a reminder, and for other people, that they are hearing parliamentary rudiments or parliamentary practices for the first time. I urge you to listen attentively, and if there are questions, you note them down, and at the end of the presentation, you ask. So with this said, let's proceed. So my presentation will basically will take our mother parliament, which is the Parliament of Ghana as a whole, then we'll limit it down to our youth parliament, because we cannot fully understand what goes on in our youth parliament without us understanding how our mother parliament operates. So let's proceed. When we say parliament, what does parliament mean? So when you see, according to my lecture, parliament simply means legislature. Legislature, where laws are made. So for parliament, you have been hearing the word parliament, because our country in which we reside, Ghana, our parliament is a very familiar word. But when you go to other jurisdictions, other parts of the world, you hear names such as House of the Lords, House of Commons, Assembly of the People, Legislative Council, State Duma, National Congress. These are all names given to legislatures depending on the country in which you find yourself. So what is legislature? So a legislature is a lawmaking body of a country or a region made up of elected representatives from politically demarcated territories called constituencies. So for this, Mr. Jones defined constituencies, and riding on that, I can say that our legislature that we have as parliament in Ghana is made up of territories that we call constituencies. And every constituency has a representative which has been elected to the August House. So when you come to the Ho Municipal Youth Parliament, we have accredited constituencies. And when you bring all the constituencies together, that's what makes us a legislative body. So Parliament is a representation of the entire population of the country or a territory. So when you take Ho Municipal as a territory, the Ho Municipal Parliament is a representation of the population. That's why when you look at the constituencies, it has representative from groups and schools and other accredited constituencies that has been done. So let's get to know the Chamber of Legislature. So for legislation body, it depends on the jurisdiction you find yourself and the part of the world that you are. So we have two types of legislatures. One is the unicameral legislature, which is the one chamber state or one chamber system, where the decisions are made at one place. The representatives come together to form a one chamber system. And for Ghana, we call our unicameral legislature because Ghana, we run a one chamber type of legislature. So we call our unicameral legislature the parliament. That's why parliament is a familiar word in Ghana. And it's not only Ghana alone that practice unicameral legislature. Countries like Uganda, Sri Lanka, Finland, Greece, Georgia, they all practice unicameral legislature, but they call their unicameral legislature parliament. When you go to other countries like Angola, Kuwait, Albania, Cape Verde, Chad, the Gambia, they also practice a unicameral legislature, but for them, they call their legislature National Assembly. Even though it's a unicameral legislature, they have a different name for it, and they call it the National Assembly. And when you go to Samoa, Tonga, and the West, for them, they call their unicameral legislation or legislative body the Legislative Assembly. And the second type of the legislature body is a bicameral legislature, meaning there are two chambers. They have the upper chamber and the lower chamber. The upper chamber reviews all the decisions, all the laws that the lower chamber make. So it looks like it's like a regulatory body for the lower chamber. So examples of countries that run bicameral legislature is Argentina, Paraguay, Mexico, Bolivia, Chile, Italy. But for them, they call their upper chamber the Senate and the lower chamber the Chamber of Deputies. When you go to Liberia, the Federal Republic of Nigeria, the US, the Thailand, Australia. Them too, they have a bicameral legislature. They call their upper chamber the Senate and the House of Representatives as the lower chamber. Madagascar, Cameroon, Lesotho, Equatorial Guinea, for them the upper chamber is called the Senate again. You could see that the Senate is one popular name that we call the upper chambers. And the National Assembly for them is the lower chamber. When you go to the United Kingdom Parliament, the House of the Lords is the name for the upper chamber, and House of Commons for the name for the lower chamber. In Switzerland, for them, Council of State as their upper chamber, and the National Council as the lower chamber. So all the types of the legislature I stated, the bicameral legislature and the unicameral legislature, they all have head. And the term speaker is one familiar word we all know. Because the speaker is the head of every legislature. The speaker is the head of every legislature. But it varies from country to country. When you go to other legislatures, that means where they practice the bicameral legislature, they call the chair or the head of the Senate, that's the upper chamber, president, or they call them presiding member for some of them, and chairperson for when you go to South Africa like this, the upper chamber, they call their presiding member or the head chairperson. So let's dive into what Parliament does. So Parliament's mandate is to execute 3 responsibilities. Just 3. Apart from these duties, anybody that will come to you aspiring to become a member of Parliament, apart from these 3 functions that the person is supposed to do, any other thing that the person will say is an add-on, or the person is deceiving you. And mostly, they all try to do add-ons for them to secure our votes. But the mandate of Parliament is just 3. Number 1 is lawmaking. So they are supposed to enact law, debate and amend laws for the country or the territory in which they find themselves in. They are supposed to ensure that the laws they enact reflect the needs of the society. So meaning, if Ho Municipal Youth Assembly is enacting a law, they must ensure that the law reflects the needs of the youth of Ho Central or Ho Municipality. And they are supposed to repeal or update outdated laws. So, time changes. We are evolving as people. So we need our laws to be updated or concurrent with our modern world as time changes. So Parliament is supposed to repeal and update outdated laws when the laws are archaic. When the law is no more useful, then they have to update it. The second one is representation. Meaning Parliament represent the interest, the concerns and aspirations of citizens or the constituents. So when you are a member of parliament, you are there to represent the interests and aspirations of your constituents or the people that you represent in parliament. And you are supposed to serve as a link between the people and the government. That's the representation aspect, the representation duty of a member of parliament. And the third one is oversight, the oversight duty. So you are supposed to monitor the activities and performance of the other branches of government. So you are supposed to ensure that the policies that government bring are implemented effectively. And through the oversight duties, you are supposed to hold public officials accountable through questions, investigations, and committee works. So this is the three main mandates or three main duties of parliament. Let's zoom into the structure of our mother parliament. So as I stated earlier, we call our unicameral legislature the parliament, and we have only one chamber, as we all know, because we don't have any upper chamber or we don't have senate. And when you go to our mother parliament, since there are 276 constituencies in Ghana as we speak, we have 276 elected members of parliament. And when you go, we have the speaker as the head of every parliament, as I stated earlier. So when it comes to the Parliament of Ghana, the speaker is also the head. And Article 101 of our Ghanaian constitution stipulate that the speaker will preside at all sittings of parliament. At all sittings of parliament. So meaning the speaker is the head and is the one that is supposed to preside at every sitting. When the speaker is not able to do so or is not able to preside on one particular day, one of his two deputies presides, because no parliamentary business can take place without a speaker in the chair. So without a speaker, we cannot hold a parliamentary proceeding. The speaker also take precedence over all the people in Ghana, except only two people. That's the president and the vice president. So meaning the speaker may act on behalf of the president if the president and the vice president are not in the jurisdiction. So we all know when the president travels out of the country, the vice president takes over and run the affairs of the country. But there are cases where both the president and the vice president are out of the country. And at that particular time, the speaker assumes the role of the president. The speaker does not have a vote in parliament. So when the votes are tied, the motion is lost. And the speaker is the chair of the Parliamentary Service Board, which I'll be talking about in detail when I get to the parliamentary service. So when you go to the first deputy speaker, for Ghanaian parliament, you have the first deputy speaker and the second deputy speaker. So the first deputy speaker presides over sitting of parliament when the main speaker is not around or is absent. And the second deputy speaker presides when the main speaker and the first deputy speaker is not around or is not in the chair. That's where you see the second deputy speaker presiding. When it comes to the majority and minority leaders, For our mother parliament, as it stands right now, we have only two caucuses. We have the majority and minority caucus. And majority and the minority leaders represent or are the leaders of their caucuses respectively. So for the majority and minority leaders, they are the leaders and principal spokesperson of their respective caucuses who ensure that their caucuses maintain discipline, cohesion, and effective conduct of the business of the house. And for the majority leader, is the leader of government business, and it provides a leadership not only to the majority caucus but the house as a whole, and also ensures the smooth and effective conduct of government business. For the minority leader, for him, his government is not in power, so it's like an opposition leader. For him, his role is to criticize, scrutinize, articulate alternatives to government policies, and make sure the government policies are implemented very, very well. So for him, his role is to put the government and the majority caucus on their toes. Both the majority leader and the minority leader are supported in discharge of their performance by their deputy leaders, which is the deputy majority leader and deputy minority leader, and whips. So for our Ghanaian parliament, we have first the chief whip, we have first deputy whip and second deputy whip for both caucuses. But I overheard the earlier speaker saying that for Ho Municipal Youth Parliament, for them they just have only whips. They don't have first and second deputy whips. When it comes to the parliamentary service, for the parliamentary service, it is headed by the speaker. That's the parliamentary service board. The speaker is always the head of the parliamentary service board, and he appoints other four members in accordance with the advice of the Committee of Parliament. So, in addition to the Parliamentary Service Board, the Clerk to Parliament is also a member. So, for them, they are responsible for promoting the welfare of members and staff of the service. That's their mandate. And when you come to the Clerk to Parliament, for the Clerk to Parliament, the Clerk to Parliament is a non-partisan advisor or a principal advisor to the Speaker and members of Parliament on privileges, practices, and procedure of the House. So before you see someone become a clerk to Parliament, then the person has to know the rudiments, has to know the conventions, the person has to know the practices, should be well abreast with the practices of Parliament for the person to assume the role of clerk to Parliament, because is the let's say is the person that will advise the Speaker and members of Parliament. So at a particular point in time, when the House is going towards a tangent that is not the best practices, or it's not what Parliament intends to not the objective of Parliament, the clerk to Parliament quickly draws the attention of the Speaker or the members of the House, and we move on the right tangent. And the clerk also is always the chief executive and accounting officer of the parliamentary service. And he or she is responsible for the day-to-day administration of the parliament. So he or she ensures the preparation of the order paper, document, the votes and proceedings, everything, every document that is laid before the house. The clerk to parliament makes sure it is kept well and added to the Hansard, meaning the official records of the house. So let's zoom into our ninth Parliament of Ghana, because as at now, the Parliament of Ghana is the ninth Parliament of Ghana. So we have the first, second, third, fourth. We are in the ninth Parliament, and the Speaker of Parliament, as most of you know, is Right Honourable Alban Sumana Kingsford Gbagin. He is assisted by Honourable Bernard Anyafo, who is the first Deputy Speaker, and Honourable Andrew Siama Amoako is the second Deputy Speaker. When you go to Clerks to Parliament, Mr. Ebenezer Omajetro is the Clerk to Parliament. That's the Clerk to the ninth Parliament, and is assisted by 3 deputies. Mr. Camilo Poman is the Deputy Clerk in charge of Legislative Management Services. Ms. Gloria Ikua Sakwa Kumewu is the Deputy Clerk in charge of Corporate and Financial Management Services. And Ms. Rosemary Atasakwa is in charge of Information Management Services. For the majority leadership, Honorable Mahama Ayaga is the majority leader. Deputy majority leader is Honorable Kweku George Wickett Hagan. And the majority chief whip is Honorable Roxin Nelson Yafemepo. And as I said, for them, they have deputy whips, but I didn't capture their name here for the purpose of this presentation. When you go to the minority leadership, Honorable Alexander Kwamina Afenyomakin is the minority leader. Deputy minority leader is Honorable Patricia PJ. And the minority chief whip is the MP for Nsawam Adoji constituency, Honorable Frank Anodompre. Let's understand some rudiments, some terminologies in respect to the timeline of Parliament. You hear something like the 30th sitting of the second meeting of the second session of the 9th Parliament. So what I said, I want to explain it. So when you come to the parliamentary tenure, we all know after every 4 years in Ghana, we hold an election. So members of parliament always renew their mandate, and parliament dies after every 4 years. So we call each year in a parliamentary year a session. So since we have 4 years in a parliamentary year, so we have 4 sessions. So every year is 1 session. So looking at right now as we are speaking, we are in the second session, meaning we are in the second year of parliament. That's what we refer to as the second session. And parliamentary sitting or parliamentary gathering is divided into sessions called meetings. They have a quarterly session, like every 3 months. We refer to that one as sessions. So after every 3 months, the house go on recess. So for the 3 months breakdown that parliament has, we call them meetings. That's what we refer to as meeting. And for every meeting, there's sitting. So the day-to-day sitting in Parliament, where you see members going to Parliament. So if they go to Parliament every day, we call that one sitting. We call that one sitting, and averagely, Parliament holds 30 sitting within a meeting. So meaning within every 3 months, Parliament holds no less than 30 sittings. That's what it means. That's what it means. So as at today that this lecture is going on, or for me presenting, this is the 30th sitting. This is the 30th sitting of the second meeting of the second session of the 9th Parliament. So meaning we are, after every 3 months, as I said, we call it meeting. So today Parliament is sitting. As we are speaking, Parliament is sitting. So they are doing their 30th sitting of the second meeting of the second session of the 9th Parliament. And for Parliament, they usually sit on Tuesdays to Fridays each week. So usually they sit between the hours of 10 o'clock in the forenoon to 2 p.m. But sometimes they extend or they vary their sitting time based on the nature of the work or based on the agreement the leadership of the House have. Parliament doesn't exist in a vacuum. There are laws and constitution, or there are laws and rules that governs parliamentary proceedings. So for Parliament, they draw their laws and their powers from the Constitution, the standing orders, the statutes, that is the Parliamentary Service Act, the Speaker rulings. So rulings of the Speaker are like past decision of the Speaker that guide our future of how things will be done in the future. And we have convention and customs of Parliament. That one, they are unwritten, most of them, they are written rules, but they bind how Parliament sittings or the practice of Parliament by tradition and mutual consent. So for parliamentary documents, I know most of you are well abreast with it. So we have the order paper, the vote and proceedings, the agenda for meetings, the LI and the CI, that's legislative or constitutional instruments. They have bills and acts of parliament. So for bills are unpassed laws. So they are laws that are in their first state and is before the House. And acts of parliament are bills that have been passed and it has become acts. They are bills in the implementation state. So it has become law and they are in their implementation state. When it comes to the committees of Parliament, so majority of the work in Parliament is done at the committee level. So this is where every member is given the chance to share their ideas on particular subject matters. So for committees, this is where the actual scrutinization of policy documents, papers, bills, and interrogation happens. So at the committee level, all members have equal opportunities to contribute on matters compared to the plenary session, compared to the floor of Parliament. So for the committees, every member of Parliament must be part of at least one committee, and it's the committee on selection that nominates members to be part of either standing or select committees. So for the standing committees, they are permanent committees that we need for the house to run. So example is the business committee, the appointment committee, the committee on selection that will determine who and who will be placed in other committees. We have standing orders committee. These are type of the standing committees. But when we come to the select committees, they are established for specific subject areas. So for them, we mostly rely on expertise for member placement. So example is the Land and Forestry Committee, Committee on Health, Committee on Education, Committee on Food, Agriculture and Cocoa Affairs in Parliament. So when you look at Committee on Health in Parliament, you could see that most of the members of the Committee on Health are all inclined to health-related issues. They have one way or the other worked in the health sector, or they know more about health and the health field. So is the Committee on Education. So when you go to the Committee on Education, most of the people there, you could see most of them are former headmasters, former GES directors, former teachers, former lecturers, because they have the expertise when it comes to education. When you go to, there's another type of committee system in the Ghanaian Parliament called the ad hoc committee. For them, they are set up when the need arises or when there is a particular matter to be investigated, or they have to look through on a particular matter and report back to the House. And for them, after they have done their work, after they sit and make their findings and report back to the House, their work ends there and the committee is dissolved. That type of committee is called the ad hoc committees. So let me take you through briefly how a bill becomes law in Parliament. So for a bill to become a law, the bill have to be laid at the House. That means in Parliament, the bill has to be laid. So after the bill is laid, I forgot to say this. So we have two type of people that can two type of bills. That's we have the government bill and the private member bill. So for the government bill, it's introduced by government, and most of the time, the government bill is laid by the minister in charge of that particular sector. So when you take the law education bill, when you take education bill is always laid by is mostly laid by the minister in charge of education. Recently, Ghana passed the legal reform bill into law. So for that type of bill, is the Attorney General or the minister in charge of justice that lays that type of bill to the House. And we have the private member bill. That one is an individual or an MP or a group of MPs that come together and present a bill to the House for consideration, so that when it goes through the right stage or all the necessary stage, it becomes a law for our country. So let's move to the first reading. So after the bill is laid, we do the first reading. So at the first reading, the bill is introduced by the Minister of State on behalf of government or the private member. This is where the clerk to Parliament read allows the long title. After the bill, the title is read, the bill is referred to the appropriate committee by the Speaker for study, for them to go and sit and make their findings and report back to the House. So after the bill is referred to the appropriate committee, the committee will sit. They may include, they may invite the public, they may invite papers, take submissions or input of stakeholders, people who have expertise, and after that, they hear them, they compile a report and report back to the House. So after they sit and make their conclusion, they come back to the House and lay the report of the committee before the second reading. So after the committee concludes their work, they lay the committee report, usually laid by the chairman of the committee, before the second reading. So at the second reading, they debate on the principles of the bill alongside the committee report. So the committee report will capture whether the bill or the bill should be taken, should be approved. The members of Parliament should rally, should support the bill. That's what happens when we debate on the principles of the bill. So after they debate the principles of the bill and the House agree that, oh, the bill is a good bill, we should proceed with the next step, they will move to the consideration stage. That's where we take the word by word consideration of the bill. That's where you see members scrutinizing the bill clause by clause. You see them changing some of the words and debating that the bill in its original form will be problematic. So let's change this side of the bill. Let's change the word for this, especially the must and the shall word. They always do some amendment to them. So when a member proposes amendment for the bill, the House votes on it, whether the bill or the amendment should stand part of the bill. When the ayes have it, then the amendment is ordered to be part of the bill. But when the House or majority of the members of Parliament doesn't agree, we drop the amendment, meaning the amendment cannot be part of the bill. So after the consideration stage, where every part of the bill is looked at, including the short and long title. After that, then the bill is read the third time and passed. That's where the clerk reads the long title aloud. So after the bill is passed, after the third reading, the bill is passed. So the bill is then transmitted to the president by the clerk to Parliament. When the bill gets to the president has two options. He either signs the bill and becomes law after gazette, or the president refuses to sign the bill if he's not comfortable with some of the provisions in the bill. So when the president refuses to assent to the bill, he either writes to the Speaker of Parliament or refers the bill to the Council of State. So when the bill is referred to the Council of State, they go through the bill and advise the president. If there are amendments, they advise the president with their finding. So the president is supposed to inform the Speaker of Parliament within 14 days after receiving the bill to state why he's not signing the bill to become law. So with this, after that, he will state in a memorandum the reason why he's not signing the bill to become law. If there are recommendations, he will propose it in the information. If there are amendments, he will state it out for the House to take a second look at it. So after the president has communicated to the speaker with the amendment that or with the clause that is not comfortable with in signing, that's why it's not signing. The bill is then referred back to the House. So Parliament shall accordingly reconsider the bill, taking into the account the comments or the recommendation made by the president. Then they will reconsider and then do the needful, and the bill is then transmitted back to the president for him to sign, and it becomes a law after it is gazetted. In Ghana, I think gazette is after 21 days. Yes, I think so. Gazette period is 21 days. So let's move to parliamentary procedure. So as I said earlier, Parliament doesn't just operate in a vacuum. There are rules that governs what Parliament is about, or the operations of Parliament. We adopt this type of rules, accepted rules, because we want our deliberations or our modum operandus to be orderly. We don't want a chaos institution. That's why we have standing orders. So parliamentary procedure is the accepted rules, the ethics and customs governing sitting of a legislature. So you should have that one in mind. So motions. So when you hear motions in parliament, motions simply means a formal proposal by a member that the House should take a certain decision. So for motions, you can use motion to bring new business to the House. There's something called, we'll be looking at the type of motions. So for motions, every motion can be debatable. A motion can be amended, and any motion can be withdrawn. But after a motion is moved, as I said earlier, a motion is just a formal announcement or formal. Hello, am I audible?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. So it's a formal plea that the House should take a decision. So when someone moves a motion in the House, the motion is always debatable. The motion can always be amended, and the motion can always be withdrawn. But you should know that for a motion to stand, the motion has to be moved by a person, and it should be seconded before we consider the motion. So when someone moves a motion and it doesn't get a seconder, that means we say the motion doesn't hold. The motion doesn't carry merit. So we have two types of motion. We have procedural motions and a private motion. So for procedural motion, it's a motion that deals with the procedure or conduct of parliamentary business. It rather regulates how Parliament carries out its works. So for procedural motion, for them it always moved to manage the order and efficiency of parliamentary proceedings. It is for us to decide how debate or business should be conducted. So example of a procedural motion is a motion to adjourn sitting, a motion to suspend sitting, a motion to suspend a certain part of our standing orders, a motion to extend the time for debate, a motion to refer a bill to a committee. These are all type of procedural motion. For private motion, that is the private member motion, is where a motion is introduced by a member of parliament. The person is not a minister or a deputy minister. The person is just like an ordinary minister in the ordinary MP in the house to bring an issue of public importance before parliament for debate, or to bring to file a motion that a particular stance or particular decisions to be made by the house. So the purpose of private member motion is to raise issues affecting government or the public, to recommend that the house take a particular decision or to influence public policy. More often than times, private member motion is always lead to debate. Most often it always leads to debate, but for procedural motion, for that one, it's not debatable. Most of the time we don't debate procedural motion. So example of a private motion is a motion calling on the government to improve road infrastructure, or a motion urging increased funding for education or healthcare, or a motion requesting that there should be measures to combat youth unemployment. This is the example of a private motion. So usually the difference between the procedural motion and the private motion is that for procedural motion is usually administrative in nature, while the private motion is usually public policy oriented. That is the difference between these two types of motion. So when you go to parliament, before decisions can be made, there's something called voting in the house, and we have three types of voting. We have voice voting. That's where the speaker will put the question, and for the voice voting, the loudest, because of we all know the majority carries the vote. If there is majority agreement, if the majority agrees, then the decision stands. So when we do voice voting, we usually take the loudest, because we believe that the more people agree, the louder the voice. So for that side, voting by voice, that's where you see the speaker putting in the question that all honorable in favor of so and so motion say aye. Then you hear the ayes, like majority of the people saying aye. Those against saying no. So you hear some group of people saying no. So when the ayes is louder, then we will say the ayes have it. The motion carries, or the house is in favor of that motion. Then we have voting by head count. For voting by head count, that's where you see people in the chamber, honorable members in the chamber, people in the chamber, honorable members in the chamber, publicly showing their votes You see them by raising their hands or standing up, so that whoever is in charge of the counting counts the honorable members and communicate the decision of the House to Mr. Speaker. So that's what we call by head count. So we count the individuals that are in agreement that a certain decision be made. So that's what we call the voting by head count. And the last type of voting is the secret ballot. For the secret ballot, it is done for sensitive issues where we want to protect the image of the voter. So for secret ballot, it's mostly done when electing our parliamentary officers. That's when we mostly do the secret ballot, or when Parliament is considering the removal of an officer, or when let's say there's a certain decision on the floor of Parliament, and looking at the sensitive nature, we need to protect members of Parliament, then we can opt for the secret ballot. And for the secret ballot, it's always announced after the after counting of the results. The secret ballot is just like the voting we do at our general elections. So no one is to see what decision you are making, who you are voting for. That's what we term as secret ballot. In the House of Parliament, we debate. And a debate in the House is simply a conversation for members to share their candid opinion on the subject matter before the House, for the House to reach a certain decision. So for Parliament is a house of debate, and we debate mostly everything in the House of Parliament. So we debate statements to the House, committee report, bills at consideration stage, the private members' motion, committee report. In fact, in Parliament, we debate almost everything. So this is an example of a plenary session. That means a House of Parliament. So you could see this is a picture of our mother Parliament in the Parliament of Ghana. You could see the Speaker at the top there, and the table office seated in front of the Speaker. And in front of the table office, you see the maize in front of the table office. And when you see the maize upright, you will know that Parliament is in session. And you could see the members of Parliament seated at the right side and the left side of the Speaker. So the majority caucus sits at the right side of the Speaker, and the minority caucus sits at the left side of the Speaker. Currently, as we have in our ninth Parliament, we only have two caucuses, as I mentioned earlier, the majority and the minority. So as it stands now, according to our constitution and our standing orders, we need to have a minimum of 7 independent members of Parliament for them to get their own caucuses. So I believe in the near future, when we have more than 4 independent candidates, as we have now in our ninth Parliament, when we have more than 7 or more, then we can have a third caucus in the chamber. That we refer to them as the independent caucus. So the plenary session, that's the floor of Parliament. This is the most visible aspect of the parliamentary work. That's where we always see. But as I said earlier, most of the work of Parliament is done at the committee level, because we don't see the committee work, so we don't know that that is the most that's the part that works mostly, like that's the crucial part where all the decisions are made. But the floor of Parliament is the most visible aspect, and for Parliament of Ghana, they sit 4 times a week normally. As I've stated earlier, I mentioned their sitting period, so I don't want to repeat that. So Parliament, their task is to enact law, legislation. That's the primary goal of Parliament, and that takes place in the plenary session. So after the bill has been referred to the committee brings it back to the floor of Parliament for members of Parliament to debate and take a certain decision whether the bill should move forward to the next stage or we should drop the bill. So speaking on the floor of Parliament, for a member, of Parliament, you should know that you are entitled to speak on the floor of Parliament. And for you to be able to speak on the floor of Parliament, there are certain procedure or rules that you must adhere to. So to be able to speak first on the floor of Parliament, you must firstly catch the eye of the speaker, for the speaker to give you the opportunity for you to contribute on a subject matter. So the speaker has to recognize you first before you can speak. And when the speaker gives you the opportunity, you first introduce yourself and your position in your constituency before you make your submission. So example is let me use Honorable Believe as an example. Let's say I'm Honorable Believe and the speaker has given me the opportunity to speak. I'll first say thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. That means I have to thank the speaker first. And then say, Mr. Speaker, I would like to move. Okay, I've jammed the hole. So when I thank the speaker, the next step is for me to introduce myself. So I will say thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity. My name is Honorable Believe Aboso, the Majority Chief Whip of the House and Youth MP representing YIP constituency or Youth Impact Parliament constituency. And then I'll proceed to make the submission or why I rose up. I'll say, okay, let's say, Mr. Speaker, I beg to move that we adopt the report of the committee on finance that has been laid before the House. Then after that, after making my submission, I will thank the speaker for allowing me to speak on the floor. So I will end by saying, thank you, Mr. Speaker, or thank you, Madam Speaker. And you should know that no member shall leave the House without the permission of the Speaker. No member shall leave the House without permission of the Speaker. So on the floor of Parliament, or when you want to leave the House, you have to take permission from the Speaker. So debating rules, there are certain rules that guide speaking on the floor of Parliament. And for the debating rules, I don't think I can cover all of them. And I believe the standing orders will explain them into more details. And standing orders will capture most of them. So I'll just brush through some of the debating rules in Parliament. Then we'll proceed from there. So as I said earlier, a member shall not speak in Parliament until it's given permission by the Speaker. meaning you catch the eye of the speaker. And a member shall refer to everybody in Parliament as an honourable member. When you want to refer to someone in the chamber, you have to add honourable to their name, because becoming MP is not an easy job. It's not easy at all. So the person has earned the right to be called honourable. So you have to accord him that respect. So you refer to everybody on the floor of Parliament as honourable. So when you want to mention someone's name, you mention Honourable Roots, Honourable Redeemer, in that order. And on the floor of Parliament, when we are debating, the Speaker does not take part in the debate of the House. For the Speaker is to moderate the proceeding of the House. So the Speaker is like a mediator. He doesn't take sides. It's not supposed to take sides at all. And any member who defies the rules of debate shall be called to order, or is deviating shall be called to order. So when you stand up to speak on the floor of Parliament, you should confine yourself, or you should make your submission related to the subject matter under consideration. You shouldn't speak out of scope. When you are speaking out of scope, the speaker may call you to order, or can ask you to resume your seat. And when the speaker asks you to resume your seat, you should do so without hesitation. It's not subjected to any challenge at all. And in Parliament, everything that you say on the floor of Parliament should be verifiable, should be information or data that you can produce when they ask you to do so. So you shouldn't go and forge data, or go and be talking or making submission based on hearsay, information that are not factual. That one is not accepted at all. When you do that, we call it you are misleading the House. That's what we call. And we can hold you for contempt of Parliament when you do such a thing. And when you are debating on the floor of Parliament, you should not read, even though you can prepare your speech before you come to Parliament, but you are not permitted to read your speech as it is verbatim. The only thing we encourage you to do is that you can read extracts from the document in support of your argument, or you can glance through your notes or sections of the speech as you speak, but you cannot read the exact thing, the exact speech that you have prepared. In Parliament, when you are debating, it's not a place for you to come and read your essay or your speech. You are encouraged to know, or you have in-depth understanding of the subject matter in which you want to speak about before you stand for the opportunity to be given. And every time you want to speak in Parliament, when the speaker gives you the opportunity, you are required to stand before you make your submission. And you are supposed to stand during your submission, or when you are given the platform at the youth level, you should make your submission devoid of partisan sentiment or partisan submissions. You shouldn't bring the politics of it. You should look at it in the lens as a Ghanaian. So for the politics aspect of subject matters, you can leave it for our mother parliament for them to do their politics. But the youth level, We don't do politics over there. We speak on issues relating to youth without MPP, NDC, CPP, UP, butterfly family or anything. That one is not accepted. And you are not supposed to bring harmful object to the chamber. This one is just common sense. Don't bring anything, don't bring weapon, don't bring anything that can harm any other person into the chamber. And when speaking on the floor of Parliament, as I said, you should stick to the subject matter on the floor. And you should refrain from physically abusing or verbally abusing anybody when you are making your submission. We all know that when you are debating on the floor of Parliament, not everybody will have the same view. Some people may agree and some people may disagree. So in making your criticism or in making your submission, if you don't agree with a member, you should state it in a manner that will not undermine the person's intelligence or insult the person. You get it? So you shall not use language that is offensive, that is insulting, that is abusive, that is discriminatory or unbecoming of a youth parliamentarian when you are given the floor. And at any point in time that such matter or such issues are taking place, the speaker may instruct you to withdraw and apologize or to withdraw your words. Even the speaker can go further and order that the section, a certain part of your statement should be expunged from the records, and it's very, very acceptable. So with that said, and when we are debating on the floor of Parliament on a specific subject matter, every member is entitled to speak once on that particular subject matter. But in the case where we are at the consideration stage where the rules are relaxed, you may speak more than once. And when you want to respond, when a member, you have already spoken, and a member when speaking mention your name or invite you into the discussion and you want to clarify or make a correction, that one Mr. Speaker can give you the opportunity for you to respond to it. For dressing code in the chamber, I mostly don't like I mostly don't like talking about dressing because everyone has their way of dressing. But one thing I want to entreat the House is that for purposes of plenary session, you should dress in a manner that will promote professionalism, to uphold your dignity. You should be disciplined. You shouldn't for the guys, you shouldn't wear anything that you shouldn't wear shorts. You should look at your color combination when dressing, because you cannot wear yellow down and pink top. You can imagine how the dressing will look like. So you should also check your color combination. For our sisters, the ladies, you shouldn't wear too tight clothes. You shouldn't wear clothes that show your boobs and your shape. For that one, we call it indecent dressing. So I can commend our former African wear for members traditional Ghanaian attire is accepted in Parliament. Formal business attire, that's the shirts, the long sleeves, the suit and tie and everything, it's accepted by Parliament. But you should refrain from wearing shorts to the house. That one, I don't think any speaker would would allow you into the chamber. You should refrain from wearing torn or distressed clothing. You shouldn't wear slippers into the chamber, and you shouldn't wear um, dresses or clothes that have abusive inscription on it. And for the determination of what a member can wear to the chamber, I think the speaker has the right to determine which dresses or which dressing is accepted and those that are not accepted. So for this one, I leave it for the speaker. But you should know that you should dress in a manner that promotes professionalism, dignity, and discipline in the house. For rulings of Mr. Speaker, you see, after a decision is made, or when you want um, uh, you want to know the stance or the ruling of Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker rulings are like verdicts before the House. So when the Speaker make a ruling on a particular subject matter, it is final. The only thing you can do is that you move a motion that the Speaker should reconsider the ruling he has made. And if the Speaker so wish, he may reconsider. But you should know that as a Speaker, your rulings will become precedent. So we should be mindful of how we rule on certain subject matters. So contempt of parliament. For contempt of parliament, it's just anything that doesn't conform with the order and the rules of parliament on how to hold yourself as a member of parliament. So for member of parliament, we all know that you should maintain order in the chamber. You should conduct yourself with dignity and respect at every point in time. You should not interrupt any member when he's speaking. You should not engage in private conversation that disrupt proceedings. You should not display banners, placards, and other materials in the chamber. You should not even engage in any behavior that bring parliament into disrepute. So when you do anything that is outside the laws and the practices that parliament has accepted, we refer to you as you are holding or you are contempting the parliament. So we will hold you in contempt of parliament. So anything that's out of common sense, anything that you are not supposed to do and you do it, will hold you in contempt of parliament. So example is bringing falsifying documents, intimidating people on the floor of parliament, using unparliamentary language, publication of false statements. All these are practices that result to contempt of parliament. So for that one, I leave it to you because it's something that your standing orders will capture it in its entirety. When it comes to interventional science, I don't know. This is mostly adopted by our youth parliament, because for our mother parliament, they don't, for their interventional science, they just stand up. They don't have our interventional science as youth parliament. For them, they just stand up, and the speaker will ask, on what order are you standing up, or on what order, yes, on what order are you standing, or are you standing? Then you mention your point of order, then you proceed with your submission. But for our youth parliament, for us to have a decorum in the house, for the speaker to know who and who to take next after a subject matter, we have adopted um, interventional science for the orderly conduct of the house. So the interventional science, the point of order is the first one. So for the point of order, you see members raising a point of order when the standing orders or constitution have been breached, or where parliamentary procedure is not properly observed. So for the point of order, it is the first, and it takes precedence over the other orders. So after a member raises a point of order, the speaker shall pause everything, meaning if an honorable member is on the floor or is speaking on the floor and there's a point of order, the speaker will ask the member to hold on for the house to take the point of order, and then the speaker will rule on the point of order immediately, or at a later time sometimes, for the house to proceed. So the ruling of the speaker shall be binding unless overturned by parliament. So for the point of order, when someone is speaking on the floor of parliament, is using unparliamentary language, is driving out of scope of the subject matter under discussion, that's where you see point of order being raised. And the second one is point of contribution. For that one, when you see point of contribution, we another name for it is the follow-up. You see members raising their three hands like they are brushing it. So for that one, you raise a point of contribution or a follow-up where you want to contribute on a subject matter under discussion. When you want to contribute on a subject matter under discussion. So for the point of, when you stand on the point of contribution, you are not supposed to introduce a new subject matter at all. You need to stick to the matter under discussion. Another one is the point of correction. For the point of correction, for that one, when someone has said something on the floor that you want to correct, that one you raise your two hands. That's the too sure that we have been doing. That's the point of correction. And for the point of information, is you raise it when you want to introduce a new subject matter under the item on the other paper. That's where you raise the point of information. And you cannot raise a point of information and contribute to the subject matter on the floor. So the right, if you want to contribute to the subject matter on floor, the right interventional science for you to raise is a point of contribution. Point of information is used to introduce a new subject matter altogether on the floor. So that's why when someone is presiding and he sees point of information and point of contribution or follow-up, he mostly takes the point of contribution before he comes to take the point of information, because we need to discuss the subject matter under discussion into its entirety. We have to finish with it before we can take a new subject matter on the floor. Let me end my my presentation with the Maze of Parliament. So for the Maze of Parliament, you see it in front of the table office. It signifies the symbol and authority of Parliament. So meaning Parliament cannot sit, or we cannot constitute a Parliament without the maze. And for every parliamentary session, for every parliamentary sitting, the maze has to be there for us to consider what they are doing legally, or the sitting legally. So that is what the maze of Parliament signifies. It signifies the power and authority of Parliament. And when you go to the House of Parliament, sometimes you see that the maze is tilted. For that one, meaning the rules of Parliament has been relaxed, and mostly is done at the consideration stage of the bill, of a bill. That's where you see that you relax the rule of Parliament, where members can contribute more than once to the subject matter under discussion. So apart from that, anytime you see the maze standing erect on the floor of Parliament, meaning Parliament is in business, serious business is taking place, and we shouldn't flout the rules of Parliament. So with this, I thank you very much for listening to my presentation, and it's time for questions.
Wow, wow, fantastic one there to the Speaker of Youth Impact Parliament for delivering an elaborate parliamentary procedure presentation to you all. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Now, members, it is time for questions and answers to the Speaker. So, please raise your hand if you have questions or contributions or clarifications on his presentation. The floor is open for questions. Hey, does it mean you have all understood every presentation being made? You don't have any questions at all? Hey, I'm completely bamboozled. Someone should ask a question. Please, you can't do this. It's not allowed. It's not allowed. Please come and ask question. You want to understand why Parliament is doing this. I want to understand why the people are always saying I. They are never saying Aj. They are just saying I. That's also a question. Yes. Yes. Okay, me, I have a question to Mr. Speaker. Yes, our facilitator. Want to understand why every time the MPs are saying I, what exactly are they doing by that I?
Okay, thank you very much for the question. So, as I explained earlier, we have three types of voting in Parliament. We have the head count, we have the secret ballot, and the voice vote. So, when you see them saying aye, so in Parliament, it's either aye or nay. So, when you see the presiding member um, put the question that all those in favor of a certain motion say aye. That's where you hear them all shouting aye. Those against no. Those against saying no. You hear them saying no. So in what they are doing simply is voting on a decision. That is what they are simply doing. So it's nothing alien to Parliament. They are just voting that the House should take a certain decision. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Honourable members, our director is in, Mr. Charles Kwesi has joined us. Director, please let's hear you. Welcome. Hello, Director, can you unmute yourself? We can't hear you right now. Director, please could you unmute yourself? Okay, you. As director is getting ready, Mr. Agoso Belief, let's take your question, sir.
All right. Good evening, family and fellow youth MPs. So mine is actually not a question, but I just want to thank our facilitator for that nice presentation. And life is good to relearn and relearn again. I have learned a lot this video, so I want to thank him for passing through, teaching us the rudiments of Parliament and everything. So I also want to add, like for the beginning, somebody was saying that he's hoping that this parliament shouldn't be one of the what has been established, then they'll do inauguration and it will not happen again. I want to add that if it will happen, or it will work because of all of us, not by anybody. So this is what we want to do. So please let's just do it and do it well so it's not collapse. If it collapse on our head. It doesn't collapse on any leader or any youth director. So I'm just hoping that let's take it serious. If we want to do it, let's take serious in it and we make it happen and let's continue it go before us. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. It's well taken notice of. Yes, Director, please you can unmute and speak. You can unmute and speak. We can't hear you, so Director, if you can unmute your mic, and we'll be able to hear you. Unmute is the mic button at the bottom. I think Director is having some little issues. So, Roger, let's hear your question as we are with Director.
Okay, so thank you for that one was a very good one. Everybody that is really accustomed to all this, but in due time, you all get aligned with everything. Now, I have a question and also a suggestion. The question goes like this. I heard the presenter speaking on minority, majority. This parliament or this proposed parliament, it's for the municipality. And our aim or our objective is to be able to or let's say inform decisions or get things to be done properly. So why are we still holding on to majority or a minority team there? Because if it is in the municipality, if somebody that disagrees, yes. If somebody agrees, no. So that we don't, I know we all have our political affiliations, so that we don't now dive in and go into how, like, what is happening in our parliament, because already two people have already mentioned that for it to be sustained, it is based on our own input and our own efforts. So I want to know why we are still maintaining the minority and the majority. And it goes like this.
Okay.
If we can scrap that minority, majority, I think it will help us. And also, the title honorable, I have a problem with it. If we can find a different title or different title that we can probably be calling ourselves. I think the last parliament of the municipality was using something like noble. So if I think the honorable, we are not there yet. Some people I might be there, but I think we shouldn't really go ahead of our race. So we can probably use something else like noble or any other thing that we can do. I know we are mimicking the parliament, but let's look at that. So those are my question and my suggestion.
Okay, thank you, Roger, for the question and the suggestion. So, some aspect of your question where you said we should scrap off the majority and minority. And for that one, I'll leave it for the interim speaker to decide how the house will be run. I just gave you the overview of how generally Parliament is supposed to run. And for the suggestion you made about the title honorable used by members of Parliament. Okay, so as I stated, the lecture or the presentation I did is for the general view of Parliament, how Parliament is supposed to be run and how the names is being called. But I'll leave it for the House, which is the Ho Municipal Youth Parliament, to decide if they want to adopt a different title that will be accepted by the House for members to be referred to as. But for me, that's the little I can say. I can't comment whether you should drop the honorable title. I cannot suggest for the House. It's for the consideration of the House and for your leadership to determine what is right for the House. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you very much. Director, immediately you unmute yourself, we'll listen to you. On the adaptation of majority and minority, there is no parliament in the world that operates without caucuses. Okay, because decision making is by numbers. So whatever party that has more numbers becomes the majority. Whatever party that has the less is called the minority. Now, we are not using majority or minority based on political affiliations. This is a non-political organization, even as stated by the National Youth Authority. But it does not mean we cease using terminologies. Okay, because at the end of the day, a house that has one voice would not be able to encourage having opposing views. And that is why, although the group is non-political, there is still caucus designation. Now, for the fact that you are part of majority doesn't mean you must accept everything. The fact that you are part of minority doesn't mean you must reject everything. That is not the connotation being added to the designations. It is being added for the purposes of structuring the organization and identification of roles. Because even when you are filling the form for National Youth Authority for registration of members, they have even asked whether there is a majority leader and a minority leader. It's because that is the structure the National Youth Authority has prescribed for this youth parliament. So the question of it being scrapped, it's not there. The question of it being scrapped cannot find expression in what we are doing. It cannot be scrapped off. And it is not political. So take note on that. It cannot be scrapped off. It is not political. Being part of a caucus does not denote that you must always side or always be against. You should feel free to express yourself, whether you're in the majority or minority. It is just grouping, the same way we say group A, group B. But instead of calling it A or B, parliamentary procedures demand that there must be a majority caucus and a minority caucus. And for structure-wise, that is why it is being kept. Now, number two, the terminology used to address. As you know, parliamentary proceedings, the speaker is being termed right honorable, and then members are called honorable. There could be other groups that use the term right noble or noble, reverend, right reverend. These just titles. The Constitution of Ghana, I don't think titles is not even in the Constitution of Ghana, if I may say. It is a conversation that has become the practice, because the Constitution of Ghana does not prescribe that the President of Ghana be referred to as His or Her Excellency. The Constitution equally does not prescribe that the Speaker be called Right Honorable, does not prescribe that judges be called justices, and then the Chief Justice also be called His Lordship. No, it is a conversation that has become the normal practice of identifying office holders and giving them what? A connotation of their work and what is expected, the aura that is supposed to be with them. If you want to understand titles, they have more of an expectation that is due it. His Excellency, what does it connote? It means there is an expectation that the person should be excellent at delivering his work. Literally, that is what it means. When it comes to honorable, it means the person is expected to live life as best as possible and do things that will honor him or his constituents. His attitude must be honorable in the sense that it must not be something that will bring shame. His lordship, in the sense that he's leading a court, and it's expected that due respect is given to honor his words. Justice. Why are judges called court? Your lordship, justice, this, justice, that. Have you ever asked? The title justice has been given is because they are expected to always deliver justice. So the title is expected to follow you to control what? Your societal obligations and then duty. So that is where titles always come from. I'm not saying that you must drop it, because even in the Constitution and the standing orders, it is not there. But the titles are given to give a societal expectations to attitudes and behaviors of office holders. So if you feel that the honorable, we should distance ourselves because we are not honorable, we are noble men and women, I agree with my speaker, Adam Osman, that it is for us to choose whether or not we want to leave the title honorable and use noble. But there is an understanding, and that is what I've explained to you. So I think we can look onto it, whether or not we still want to continue the honorable, or there is any other title we want to adapt. But the titles are there for a reason to also encourage and empower the office holders and keep them to work with the expectations of the people that they serve. I hope that is clearly explained to you. Roger. Okay. Director, please can you unmute yourself? Because we can't still hear you. Director. We can't still hear Director, so I'll still open the floor for questions. I think, yes, please. The floor is open for questions. Questions on the presentation. Gabriel has always been giving thumbs up in favor, but they haven't asked any question. Gabriel, please ask a question or make a commentary. Okay. Favor, let's hear from you. Maybe you can give a feedback on the presentation, whether you are following the staffs. That's fine.
Okay, thank you so much for the opportunity. What I wanted to say is, with time, we'll be able to get abreast with all the terminologies and then the duties and roles that is being assigned to us. So for now, we are, just taking it all in. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that feedback. Please, any other contribution, questions, or inquiries in the presentation? Yes, Gabriel.
Can you hear me, man?
Good evening.
Okay, thank you all so much. I think it's still safe to refer to us as honorable, right? Can you hear me?
Yes, it's safe. You can continue.
Thank you all so much. And honorable Adam, that was a great presentation. Thank you for that title. And like Honorable Silva said, with time, even those of us that are new to Parliamentary, with time we pick up and get abreast with it. So thank you all so much for the presentation. I think we can do a good job. Yes. And I had two people make a submission on the fact that it happened before, it was revitalized, it was and then nothing happened. And then yes, they both said that it will have to work, or it is up to us to make it happen if we want to make it happen. As young people who are, I believe, passionate about youth advocacy, about youth leadership, about making the youth heard, I think then it's up to us to make it happen. I'm glad to be part of this. Thank you all for this opportunity. I'm sure we'll do great things together. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Gabriel, for your endorsement. Yes, this parliament, let me say, virtually collapsed for more than 5 years. But this happening today is all our efforts and resolution that it must not be so. The passion is that the youth must have a voice. And the best way to have a voice is for us to come together and organize ourselves. There are lots happening in the district, in the municipal, but we don't have an organized voice as youth. The assembly has been passing bylaws. We don't even know about them. And some of them does affect us. So if we organize ourselves as youth, we can have influence on decisions of the assembly. And this is the best way to do it since we reside in here. So that is basically what the revitalization is about, is to give ourselves a voice in front of the assembly, the local governments, and the MP. If we all come together and we say, Assembly, you are not attending to this, attend to this, and we do as Ho Municipal Youth Parliament, the Ho Municipal Assembly will have nothing to do but to look into the matter we are drawing their attention to. If we come together and say, MP, this law that is being passed in Parliament, we don't like it. We say you must go this way. That will be a strong voice of the youth. The MP will have to say in Parliament of Ghana that his youths have organized themselves and say they don't like this bill. I cannot accept it. So what we are doing is creating a voice for us. And I thank you all for accepting to go on this journey. It is not a journey that rewards you with money, but it's a journey that rewards you with a voice, identity, and also something to refer to in the future. And it builds your capacity as well, because look at what we are doing. You are getting to learn about things and stuff. Yeah, so the value of this might not be money, but it is something else that money cannot buy. So thank you very much. Please, the floor is open for questions. I can see Francis, Linda, Samson, yes, Chosen, Godfred, and then Azanu. Yes, Imo, let's hear you, please. Yes, Emmanuel, we can't hear you.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. Please, I want to ask the Right Honorable Speaker. You didn't make mention of workout sections. Most of the times in parliamentary sittings, as we have been watching on TV, minority caucus always walks out from parliament saying they are not interested in the bill. Please, can you say something about the workout sessions?
Okay, so thank you very much, Honorable Emmanuel, for the question. So, for workout in Parliament, it's a parliamentary tool that people can adopt if they are not in favor of a certain decision, because in Parliament you have your own rights and it must be protected. So when there's a certain subject matter on the floor and the majority or a certain group of people in the chamber are proposing a certain stance, and you or your group, you don't align with their stand, or you are not in agreement with what they are proposing, after you make your stand, you'll be given opportunity to contribute to the subject matter. So you make it known to the House for the records that you are against whatever decision has been made. And workout is something that most of the time the minority, when they don't have the numbers, they always do, so that at the end of the day the records can capture it that when they were making a certain decision, we were not part, so we left them for them to handle the issues on their own. So if there's any consequences, let the records reflect that we, the minority, or we, these people, we are not part of the decision. And so the consequences is solely on the people that were present at that particular moment. So that's work out for you in Parliament.
Yes, thank you very much. Yes, Gabriel.
Yes, so Honorable Adam, what you just said. Yeah, so does it mean even after a workout, the the decision that is made or whatever proceeding that goes on, it still goes ahead to become like um, a thing, still goes ahead to become like a normal business of Parliament, even if they work out, like even if they were not part of the decision.
Okay, so when issues is made in Parliament, you need a majority number. So majority of the members to agree on a certain decision before the decision is made. So even if you walk out, it will be termed as Parliament or majority of people in Parliament agreed. So whatever decision they took on that particular day is bound by all of us because we are all part of Parliament. And for Parliament to reach a certain decision, you just need a majority vote. So if you walk out and the numbers over there are up to the majority and the decision can be made and the decision is made at that particular moment, then it is bounded by all of us. Even though the records will reflect that I walked out, but every decision that was made there will be named as Parliament passed this, Parliament did this, Parliament did this. They will not say the majority members pass a bill. No, it will be termed as Parliament passed a bill. That's how. So you are bound by the decision, whether you walk out or not.
Yes, any other question? Yes, Gabriel. You can ask your follow-up question.
Okay, so Honorable Adam, I know that that is what I know for now. That if you are part of the majority, then it must be one voice from the majority. That if you're part of the minority, it must be one voice from the minority. So I don't know how it works. Is it that let's say the majority is proposing something. I am one of the majority, but I am against that thing. Um, how does it work? Is it that regardless of me being against that uh, proposition, I still have to um, maintain my stand with the majority, or how does it work? I hope the question was clear.
So if I get your question, you are saying that um, if if you are part of a majority caucus and you are supposed to hold a stand for a certain decision to be made by you, a particular person, you are not in favor of the question of the decision. Does that mean you are bound by the decision or you have to align by the majority members? Is that the question if I get you right?
Yes or no, but that's the question.
Okay. So when you're part of a certain caucus, eh, when you're part of a certain caucus, the decision of the caucus is um is always communicated to, and the chief whip mandate is for everybody to understand and be in line or be in favor of the parties or the caucus's decision. But you should know that before you like you were there to represent a certain group of people. You are there to represent your constituents. So before the party, you put the party uh, in place. You should put your constituents first because first of all, you are a Ghanaian. So if your party is holding a certain stance and you are not in favor, then you can make it clearly that you are not in favor of that certain decision. So if they are voting, you can abstain from the vote. And it's not by force that you should always agree with the stance of your caucus. It doesn't work like that. It's not always that you see members taking the stance of their caucus. Example is when during the 8th Parliament, the inauguration of the 8th Parliament, voting for the Speaker. You know that the minority, the MPP caucus, that time, the MPP caucus and the NDC caucus, they were almost the same number. So the MPP side, they nominated a speaker, and the NDC too nominated a speaker, and they need to vote. Even though the whip will try to make sure every member follows the decision of their respective caucuses. When you don't agree, you can choose to do otherwise. So that's where we had a certain member from the minority caucus or the MPP caucus voting in favor of the NDC nominee, which is Right Honorable Suman Akinfo-Gbagrin. That's how he became the Speaker of Parliament. So it's not always the case that you follow your caucus. You don't follow blindly in Parliament because you hold allegiance to your constituent first before your party. That's how you should be. So you should put Ghana first. Thank you very much. I hope I've answered your question.
Yes, Honorable. Thank you very much.
Yes, and also to add, what Mr. Speaker said is true. And there is something they call, is it the three whip directive? The three whip directives are done on things that the caucus does not want members to have opposing views on. And the MPP issued a three whip directive on the day Alban Biden was going to be elected that all MPP MPs must vote for Professor Kwe. The NDC also issued a three whip directive that all NDC members must vote for Alban Biden. But what happened that day was what Mr. Speaker is talking about. One MPP member voted for Alban Baldwin, and one MPP member did rejected ballots. So both of them actually issued a three-whip directive. However, a few people followed their conscience, and it has been happening a lot in the UK House of Commons. In the UK House of Commons, these three-whip directives don't even work down because the members are independent. Another one that also happens is the United States of America House of Representatives. Over there, just a few majority members can overturn decisions of the House. And I don't know whether you guys follow this particular speaker who handed over to Mike Johnson. Is it Kevin McCarthy? Kevin McCarthy was suffering from the decision of a few majority members. I think the Democrats were around 112, and the Republicans were around 130 something. But there were just 10 people of whom, if they decide to vote for, is it Representative, is it Hopkins or whatever, who is the candidate for Speaker for the Democrats, he would win. So due to that, Kevin McCarthy had to reach a lot of concession, just this group of majority members who were Republicans, in order for him to be voted for Speaker. And one of the concessions he reached with them is that just one person can call for a vote of no confidence in his leadership, and then he'll be off the office. He had to reach such concession because they were opposing his candidature. So due to that, I think he served for about some 7 months, and then just one person called for votes of no confidence, and the House voted in favor, and then that was how Kevin McCarthy ended his term. I think he's the 33rd Speaker of the House of Representatives. So the three whip directives are issued. However, a few people will still maintain their thought process and want to abide by decisions of their will and not of a party or whoever they represent. Yeah, so that's the contribution to that. If there's any other questions or follow-ups? Okay.
Um,
Yeah.
Jones, I think we have done in excess of 3 hours. So I think if there are no further questions or contributions, then we should bring the session to a close if possible, or I'll ask for permission to leave.
Sure. Samson wants to ask after. Samson, if no one has, we'll go ahead and end today's session. Samson, please ask.
Yeah, thank you very much for the opportunity. Please, I would like to ask that how many times are we going to be sitting in a month? I want to know the number of times we are going to be sitting in a month. I thank you.
The Municipal Assembly, they hold their general assemblies once in a quarter. And what we want to do is to sit proud to them so that we can discuss matters that they discuss, or have our discussion and forward to them our interests or as a voice of youth in the municipality. So we are mostly going to sit when the assembly is about to sit. So in short, it's going to be quarterly. Sometimes if the assembly doesn't sit that quarter, we might also not sit, because all we want to do is to have a voice in the assembly. Yes. Okay, I take it that is the last question. So let me take closing remarks from facilitator Adam Osman, and I'll take that of director, and then mine, and then we'll close. Speaker, your closing remarks.
Okay, so first of all, I want to thank everyone for dedicating their time to join this session. And as you are going to be sworn in as Ho Municipal Youth Members of Parliament, you should know that this institution, or what you are about to get into, is a voluntary session. It's fully voluntary. There is no fiscal monetary reward or anything. So if you know you cannot dedicate your time and energy for this course, then I will entreat you that you drop out for others to get the opportunity to enjoy the benefits that this brings. Because as Jones stated earlier, the benefits are enormous. They are plenty. You may not get, you may not even grasp the entire initiative now until you wait for like 2 years or 3 years. That's where you see the manifestation. So with this said, I believe the presentation I did and has been recorded. This is a recorded session, I think. So there's opportunity for members to go back and play back the entire session for them to refresh their mind. And as he said, the standing orders and the constitution will be shared to you. And please, you should turn the standing orders to your Bible. You should know them often. They should be at your fingertips, because when you don't know your standing orders, you'll be bullied on the floor of Parliament because you don't know your rules and procedure. So I urge everyone to at least familiarize themselves with the standing orders before coming for the inaugural sitting, so for us to get a fruitful discussion. I myself, I'm a member of the House, so I look forward to meet all of you in person. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, our facilitator, for your kind words. Please, let's have our director, Mr. Charles Kusigomenu, the Ho Municipal Director for National Youth Authority, if you could now address us before we close. Hello, Director. Please, you can unmute and speak to us. Hello, Director. As I've shared with you, Director already informed me that he might be having a challenge, but he's following us. So he will drop his message on the page. So since he's not able to interact, he has already informed us at the start, as I've already shared with you. Honorable members, or should I say, per Roger's request, noble members, all we are coming to do is community service. And we are doing it because we want to have a voice as the youth. And I call on all of you to join us to do this. The Ho Municipal Youth Parliament is riding on the authority of the National Youth Authority, passed by an act. In extenso, it is a government initiative. And to be part of a government initiative is a very good thing. So the appointment letters will be worked on. And then the constitution as well will be shared online. Hopefully, if you get some money, copies will be printed for you all so that you can also have. We know not all of you are perfect with the parliamentary staffs. You are all now grabbing it. So obviously, the ones who know will not bully you that much. If they try to bully, I'll rescue them. I'll rescue you from them. Okay, don't worry. As I've already stated, on that day, we'll finalize by electing all our leaders. The positions are Speaker, Deputy Speakers, 2 Deputy Speakers, Clerk, Deputy Clerk, Marshal, Deputy Marshal, Majority Leader, Deputy Majority Leader, Majority Chief Whip, Majority Whip, Deputy Majority Whip, Minority Leader, Deputy Minority Leader, Minority Whip, Deputy Minority Whip. We'll be electing these people on the day of the inauguration, early in the morning, before the ceremony starts. And then after that, we'll do our stuffs. And then after then, we'll form the committees, and the committees will also elect their chairpersons and vice. So that's it for you. Can someone give us the closing prayers?
Dear Lord, we thank you for this moment. We thank you for this initiative. We trust you, O Lord, that this will be to your glory. We trust you that this will be to the upliftment of the whole municipality, especially with the youth. We thank you, Father, for we know that you are bringing change, and we are glad that we are the vessels through whom you are bringing this change. We pray that you strengthen us, give us the wisdom, give us the boldness, give us the eagerness to do your work in the name of Jesus. We thank you, Father. We know that you've done this for us. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you very much.